Animatic in iMovie. So I've just created a new iMovie file, but first of course we need to gather the images to bring in order to create our animatic. So I did my storyboard in Illustrator. So there's a couple of ways that I can capture these images. First of all, I can, if I just select this first thumbnail, I can go to File, Export Selection, scale's fine, I want it as a PNG, and then export the asset. And you can see here that it's created a file and it's in there. So I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to do this for the first 6 thumbnails. So again, File, Export Selection and Export Asset, because it'll keep all of the same selection options. The scale doesn't change, the format doesn't change. So you can go through quite quickly, but you just be careful, because I just want to select that file. Okay, so you've just got to make sure that you're not selecting a couple of the thumbnails, that you're just selecting the thumbnail that you want. So export selection and export asset. Select the file that you want. Now this, I mean, you can see that obviously a couple of the images that I've got within that thumbnail, I didn't cut the images as tight as I should have. However, that is still just the one thumbnail that's going to be exported, and you can check that when it goes to the export for screens selection box here. You can see that it's just that one thumbnail. And I'm just going to do this last thumbnail. You can hear my cat in the background, I presume. Okay, so again, File, Export Selection, and there we go. So you can see in this folder, I've got my 5 in there. If I open this one, you can see that it's still just this thumbnail, so that's fine. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it would be to export for screens, and I want to export the artboards this time. And again, I can do it as PNG, or I could do it as PDF. It's up to you, but if I do it as PNG, they're going to end up in here too. Now what you could do is, so you could use these on their own, okay, just number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or another way would be to, you've got this artboard, so I've got 8 thumbnails on there. So if I want to cut those, I could either use Command Shift and 4 and do a screenshot, but you know, that might affect the quality a little bit, so you've just got to be careful of that. Another way of doing it, so I've got this artboard and I could copy that. If I copy that 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it means I've got 6. So what I could do now is just with my cursor, just go slightly inside the outside, Command K, so I've cut that and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to the next one and I'm going to do that for the first 6 thumbnails, sorry, I was going to call them artboards. So Command K, save, and just bear with me as I do all of them. And then once we've got them, that's when we can bring them into iMovie and we can start building our animatic. So you want to get as close to the outside edge as possible. The important thing is not to cut off anything inside the frame, so you've got everything in that image that you want. So you can see that I've got, you know, the motorbike's quite close to the edge, so I want to make sure I don't cut any of that motorbike out. Okay, so there are our artboards. sorry, our thumbnails. Now I want to name them. It's really important to get into the habit of naming images, naming files, naming folders, because you're going to be dealing with a fair few thumbnails here, and you might want to use one thumbnail more than once, so it's important to name them. So I've named those thumbnails, but I'm going to go here and I'm going to rename this folder, and I'm going to call it thumbnails, because you don't know when you might want to go back into this, so it's important to have everything named. Okay, I just want to show you an Illustrator. I'm going to just, whoops, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. In Illustrator, I just want to show you what I meant by reusing an image. You can see that obviously the first thumbnail has to be the title of your story, and the final thumbnail, this was a different assignment. We ended with the moral of the fable, but yours is going to read the end, remember. So this picture here, you can see the lady being interviewed, okay, in front of the camera. I used this image twice, but I flipped it the second time. I also used the image of the car a lot of times. So this was the same picture flipped, just resized here. So you don't have to make a gazillion different images. You can use one image and you can manipulate that image and use it several times in the telling of your story. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in these images. You don't have to drag them all separately. You can pick a lot up and drag them all in. So let's just have a look. Let's just have a look at this. So you can see the Ken Burns effect is on. So just say I didn't want to use the Ken Burns effect. I go up to the crop tool and Ken Burns is here. Now if I select that image, you can see where the Ken Burns effect starts and when it ends. Now you might want to end a little bit tighter on the newscaster, or on, you know, on a subject or on an object, which is fine. You can do that. This image isn't very long, so that's going to be very quick. Okay, and notice that the quality does go, so you've got to be very careful of that. However, I'm going to leave it like that just for a moment, because when I bring the audio in, I'm going to have to change the size of some of these images. With this lady here, I may not want the Ken Burns effect. Now, if I choose crop to fill, I could crop this so it's just on her. So if I play that now, it's just on her. I don't want that though. What I want to do is I want to fit it. So there's going to be no movement now on this particular photo. It's going to stay like that. So you can play with that using the Ken Burns effect to, you know, sort of slowly zoom in or zoom out. It's completely up to you. Okay, so I've got my images in there. Now I'm going to go to my audio. Remember, you're using the audio from your audio project. So this is mine. Let's just pretend this is my audio project. So let's just listen to this.
Good evening and welcome to the JKPN Sports.
Okay, that doesn't make sense, does it? Because that audio has to sync with the image of the man speaking. So I'm just going to move this down. Let's try that now. Okay, it could probably start a little bit before that. So this is where it just gets a little bit fiddly. Trial and error.
Good evening and welcome to the
Okay, that's fine.
JKPN Sports Tonight. And tonight's lead story, the All Blacks win another World Cup in a nail-biting final at Twickenham in London. But first, an unexpected victory for a surprising competitor at the annual race meet at the Sunnyhaven Circuit. Over to our reporter at the Sunnyhaven Circuit.
Okay, so obviously I need to be on this guy up until the audio ended. About there, I think.
Our reporter at the Sunnyhaven Circuit. Well, good evening. Okay. It's a lovely night here in Sunnyhaven.
So that worked perfectly, but now I need to look at this image and sync this with the audio.
especially for a young, inexperienced racer who tasted victory for the first time tonight. Excuse me, sir.
Okay, so obviously I need to just bring this to about there. Let's have a listen to that.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay, too long.
Who tasted victory for the first time tonight. Excuse me, sir. Who, me? Can you tell me about the big race? I don't even know why there is a race. I mean, I'll win.
Okay, this can probably be stretched a little bit.
There is a race. I mean, I'll win. How fast are you? Well, put it this way. If you phoned KFC for a takeaway, I'd get there before they answered the phone. Whoa!
Okay, I want that to go to about there. I want the close up for the
I'd get there
roll.
before they answered the phone. Whoa! That
A little bit less.
takeaway. I'd get there before they answered the phone. Whoa!
A little bit less.
Get there before they answered the phone. Whoa! That is fast.
Okay, and then you just carry on like that. So yes, it is a little bit fiddly, but remember, one of the areas that I'm looking at when I'm marking your animatic is that everything aligns so that the audio matches with the visuals. Okay, so it's a bit dead at the beginning. So what I want to do is I want to bring in a background, just black. I'm going to bring that in there. But then I need to have a transition from the black to the title. So that's even more dead time with no sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in an audio track. Now, remember when I was saying in class that if your audio project was a little bit on the short side, and because your audio project was supposed to be 2 to 4 minutes, like your animatic is supposed to be 2 to 4 minutes. So if it was a little bit short, this is how you can just add to it to make sure that your animatic is the correct duration. Now this track here, it doesn't start right at the very beginning. Listen to this. I want the music to start earlier than that. So I'm just going to cut that a little bit to see if I can get that closer. Okay, let's just see if that works. Okay, I don't want 2 of those though.
Goody.
Okay, that's good. However, that music doesn't have to be that long. So I can actually bring this in. I'm just going to bring it into about there. But what I want to do is I just want to bring that, I want to fade it out a little bit, okay? So let's have a listen to that.
Good evening.
Okay, that's still a bit too loud. I'm going to bring that volume down and I can actually make that a little bit shorter and then the fade will come in earlier.
Good evening and welcome to the JKPN Sports Tonight.
Okay, so I can bring that in even more. Let's just try that.
Good evening and welcome to the JKPN Sports Tonight. And tonight's lead story.
So that's much better. So you can see that you can add some time. If we go to here, that's 6 seconds. Well, before my audio starts, Yeah, that's about 6 seconds. So, you know, if you added that at the beginning and then at the end with your the end um, thumbnail and then maybe fade to black again, and you could put some music, and you know that might put you over that 2 minute mark. Remember also, if one of the pieces of feedback I gave you on the rubric for your audio project was that you didn't have any music in it or you didn't have any sound effects, you need both of those for your animatic, so you could add them in here as well. The next thing is to save it. So you're going to export the file, you're going to name it your first name, your second name, and your family name, and your HID number. And all of these default settings are fine. Next. And it's saving as an MP4, which is what we want, and save. And you can see that it's saving there. And that's not going to take long to save because this is only 1 minute and 4 seconds. And there we have the video there. So it's as simple as that. Hopefully that's helped you with how to make your animatic in iMovie. Good luck.